Thank you everybody for joining us. As always, we've saved the best till last, because we always do. You heard the presentation from earlier on the 8-bit era and the early days of the OliverTwins. But now, Philip's going to take us through the 16-bit era and beyond.
It's computer works. Well, for some reason the keyboard works. I don't know why. Yeah, it always helps if the keyboard works. But I'll be with you in 2 seconds. Come on, good work. Can I go forward? Yes, I can. No. Keys just stopped working.
There you go. So,
excellent.
On that note, over to you.
Thank you very much. Right, cool. Hi again, everybody. Did everybody see the earlier talk? Yeah? I'm not doing it again. Right, excellent. Well, you would have heard my apologies that Andrew's not here, so we will crack on without Andrew. But it's fine, I was there the whole time as well, so I know what happened. So this is all about 16-bit and beyond, and after the Codemaster days and all the 8-bit stuff, I'm going to take all these pens out of the pocket. We set up a company, Blitz Games, and we grew Blitz Games, and then Blitz sadly demised. And we moved on to Radiant Worlds and Game Dragons, and now current day job is Paradox. So I'm going to basically take you through all of those things and hopefully make it fairly fun and interesting. I'll let you judge if it is. Cool, right, so after the days of Codemasters, it was really good, the 80s. We produced an enormous amount of games. We got a reputation, we had a lot of fun, we did a shitload of work. Trust me, so many hours, but we're not shy of work, so that's fine. But we did part company with Codemasters in about '93 and went our separate way to become developers, setting up a company, employing people. Initially it was called Interactive Studios. Actually, initially it was called OliverTwins, but we changed that to Interactive. Once we started hiring people didn't like that. So we changed it to Interactive Studios, but that became a bit generic. So we changed that in '99 to Blitz Games, and then a little bit later we changed it to Blitz Games Studios because of the trying to go after a mature image. And as it says there, we made quite a lot of games as well. But I'll take you through some of them. I won't take you through all, and I certainly didn't bring all either. So let's do it in decades, okay? Breaking it down. So, just want to take you back to that decade, the 90s. Hopefully that screams 90s at you. So what did we do? We set up an office in Leamington Spa. Codemasters are based just on the outside of Leamington Spa. Pretty much most of the employees live in Leamington Spa, so that's the Codemasters hunting ground effectively. We set up, started to employ people in about 92, 93. And because we got really good at kind of programming games and we got little teams and everything, we couldn't work for Nintendo because of the politics of Codemasters and everything else. And at the same time, '94, Sony had announced they were going to do this new console called PlayStation, which that we heard a spec through the industry, and we knew some people, Signosis, who could get us a dev kit. And so we thought, well, we'll back the underdog. They definitely were the underdog. Nobody wanted to back them, quite surprisingly. Because Sega and Nintendo owned the console games market completely. And who was this Sony company coming along? They're the guys that did Betamax. Betamax completely failed, and this will too. That is how the industry saw Sony and PlayStation. But we figured, well, the others got a head start on us now. We're not allowed to do Nintendo. Sega, we don't really have much of a relationship there either. So why don't we back the underdog? The machine spec looked really good. So we got a hold of a PlayStation and we did some early stuff from the PlayStation, and that proved to be very, very successful. Fire Employed was one of our first. We converted Creature Shock over to the PlayStation. This was from Argonaut Games, who'd done it on PC. And backing PlayStation early proved very successful for us, to the point that, as it says then, that within that decade, from about 93, we scaled to 100 staff, and that's complete organic growth. That's no VC money or anything like that. That's complete organic, and it was pretty profitable as well. And the team sizes are growing, and we did some great games in that period. I'm just thinking, did I bring any games from that period? No, I didn't. Oh, never mind. So yeah, that was mainly us doing lots of PlayStation stuff. I did a few Dreamcast games. Oh, I do have a nice video that I put in this morning.
One hero who possesses the strength, the skill, and the courage to save the world single-handedly. Glover! Strength, Glover's got the magic and the moves to mash big bad bosses. Skill, Glover's got the brains to solve mind-boggling puzzles. And talk about courage, Glover's got the grand-planning talent. Glover, more Nintendo 64 and PC CD-ROM. Gotta love the glove.
64480 was acceptable back in those days. God awful now, but anyway. I have to say that they've just recently, a new company has bought the rights to Glover and actually just released a new PC version, and I think they're going to do some console versions as well, which surprised me, but I just went along with it and said, yeah, good on you. I don't own the rights, so it was Hasbro. Lovely company to work for, Hasbro. They're awesome. We did loads of work with Hasbro. So, on to the next decade, the noughties, horrible expression, but anyway. This is supposed to put you right back there. Remember all that when Daniel Radcliffe looked like a 12-year-old? Well, probably was. So, what were we doing? Well, we started the decade with about 100 people, and during that decade we grew to 200 people. I have to say that as a business owner, when you get past 100, it's really hard remembering everybody's names, which is really embarrassing. So you can have coffees at people sort of in the kitchen and stuff, and can't remember exactly who they are, and it's kind of embarrassing, but you never say that. Never say that. We changed the logo slightly to Blitz Game Studios, and the reason being is we wanted to actually have different images, because everybody always saw from the 90s that we were just doing kids stuff. It was all the kind of Action Man and I was going to say Frogger. Frogger's actually just made it into this one. But basically it was Chicken Run and things like that. It was all kiddie brands, and we wanted to do some more mature stuff. One of the reasons why we wanted to do more mature stuff, if you want mature, one of the reasons we wanted to do that is because we wanted to get onto hardware early. It was really important to get onto hardware early because we made our own engine. So we had this theory, if you watched the talk earlier, that you need to do middleware. Middleware was a thing. Now, back in the 90s, middleware was not a thing. People said, oh, you've got to write straight to the machine. Well, in the 8-bit days in the 80s, we were writing through middleware, our own middleware. And so we'd created our own middleware through the 90s so that we could do games like Creatures from the Krusty Krab, day and date release, PlayStation 2 and Wii, same code, same graphics, same absolutely everything, and just put it out. Makes it much more cost effective and efficient, hence the reason we get lots of contracts. And I forgot where this point was going. The problem was doing middleware is that it takes time for you to write your own middleware, so you need to get to the hardware early. The problem is the hardware manufacturers, the Sega, Sonys, and Nintendos, and Microsoft, they won't give you the hardware unless you're doing something cool and new for a mature market, because early adopters are always wanting the racers and the shooters. So they were always like, well, we'll give you, dev kits are so limited, we'll give them to you when everybody else in the industry has already got them because you're doing kids games. And it's like, oh. So we actually had to sort of move on to things like Reservoir Dogs, just so that we could get early access to hardware, so that we could build it into our engine systems, into our middleware, so we can now support that in the future. So that was the reason for that. Obviously, the other thing about the noughties was all the different types of technologies, the microphones, the cameras, the Wii controller. When we first got the dev kit for Wii, that was quite funny. The bars were that long, and they didn't work very well either. And we were like, well, this seems a bit suspect, but it was really nice when the Wii did come out, although it had a god-awful name. Yeah, sorry I'm being recorded, probably shouldn't say that, but why? If you'd called it key, I could get that, but anyway, it's because they wanted to use the double I because they wanted multiplayer and iPhone and iPod. No, the iPod was very, very successful, so I was the in thing to use, so let's have two of them. But you could put a different letter in front. But anyway, they didn't. It was hugely successful. We did, I don't know if that's one of the release. I know we did some of the first games on the Wii, and obviously then put them onto PS2 as well. But the team sizes were growing all the time. It was getting, the contracts were getting deeper, longer, to haggle, argue, negotiate is the word. And as the costs were going up, so the margin reduces because they've got lawyers on their side starting to ask for spreadsheets of who are your staff, what are their salaries, and all this kind of stuff, which isn't really a nice way of doing business, but it's how they do business when they're spending millions of dollars, which means the margins go down, and then they keep asking for more content whilst the contract's going, and we won't approve Milestone 5 unless you've added loads of extra features that we want and everything. Are you going to renegotiate the contract and pay us more for those? No, we're not. And it's like, but we won't sign a milestone off if you don't do it. So you get stuck in a rock and a hard place. So even though we had 200 people, the business got to a point of almost break even. We just couldn't do anything because everything overran slightly, either the team size or the dates slightly, and they wouldn't ever give you any more money for it. So it got really, really difficult. And everybody goes, you must be multi-millionaires with a company of 200 people. It's like, yeah, we're lucky we pay the salaries. It's like, so yeah, it wasn't much fun, to be honest. It got quite stressful. Although that said, we are incredibly proud of all of the games that we made. I mean, Fusion Frenzy, the very, very first Xbox game, did spectacularly well. Sneak King, 1 million copies. You're going to see Puss in Boots in a minute. We did all SpongeBob games, we did all the Bratz games, we did that lot. And I probably missed a few as well. So we were very proud of all the games, and I have to say that the staff that we had, I couldn't remember all of their names, they were awesome. And we had a brilliant culture at Blitz as well. Everybody loved it. And when I meet people who are still in the industry around the place, they always say, oh, the days of Blitz were just fantastic. And everybody did enjoy going to work, which was nice. Here's an example game. So awesome games. I mean, lovely people who were on the team. Shame the client wasn't quite so good. Paying for that sort of. Never mind. But obviously it does lead to what's coming next. So going into the teens, that's kind of the big things of the teens. We're going Connect and smartwatches and stuff like that. And obviously Steam had released a few years earlier, but this is where it starts to get big. So, business in the teens. We've obviously had the financial crisis, 2008. Obama, love him, fantastic president, best president they've ever had and everything. He did say, because of the financial crisis, guys, if you're actually contracting companies outside the US, then please think again. You should really be kind of giving all the work to the local companies. That happened, and we got a lot of work cut off, basically. Just work got moved to American companies that we were working on, things like the American Idol and stuff like that we were working on, which was a real shame. And of course the industry was kind of also going through lots of problems because of the financial crisis. Share prices were down, so your Activisions and EAs and everybody were all looking to sort of, their share prices were down, so therefore they can commit less to new inventory, therefore they've got to reduce their portfolio. Companies like THQ, that we've done a whole load of games for THQ, they ran into serious trouble to the point of going bust themselves in about 2011. So it basically put enormous financial pressures on us, and we just drained through the cash, and eventually we had to close the studio. But before we closed the studio, we did produce a few more games, put some bits of the movie, it looked flipping awesome, and if you had a Kinect, you could even stand in front and pretend you were a sword fighter, and it worked really nicely. With a Wii, it worked quite well as well. On PS2, you had to go back to the controller for sword fighting, which doesn't work quite as well, but still looked amazing and played well. So yeah, we did loads of other games. We then started kind of exploring and looking into sort of doing our own digital publishing and doing our own games. Some of those were paid for, Smarter Than a Fifth Grader was paid for. But the rest, I think we paid for all of them, basically just trying to find new areas and new things where we could own the IP, and hopefully they take off and hopefully they bring money in. And we started looking at the serious games as well, and doing lots of work in that space. Unfortunately, they weren't enough to save the business, so we eventually had to call time, which is a very, very sad thing to do. Standing up in front of, it was about 175 people, and telling them, sorry, we're closing the business. Yeah, that was a very sad, very, very sad time. But we'll get something happier now. This is some of the last work we did. We kept trying to make the game a bit smaller, knock a few levels out, save some money, but the problem is the title is epic, so it's a little bit hard to do that. But I believe the credits are 800 people. There were about 60 in our studio. There are a whole bunch of people in India, China, Shanghai in China, a bunch of people in Austin, including Warren Spector, who's credited as the main designer, and it was him. And he had a bunch of people over in his studio working on it as well. And we might have been doing a follow-up, which got cancelled due to all the financial issues going on at the time, which was very, very sad. Stop it! Why does it always do that? So after that business closed, a bit dejected, we had just pitched at a company in Korea called Smilegate. Everybody heard of Smilegate? No. Turns out they're incredibly rich. Got a massively successful game. I can't remember the name of it now. What's it called? No, I can't remember. Anyway, we just pitched to them before going out of business, so we basically spoke to them and said, if we manage to set up a new company, will you commission the new company if we can kind of hire some of the old guys that we've just laid off? And they were actually very nice about it, and they allowed us to set up Radiant Worlds. They gave us an advance to sort of start paying for everything, reassure everybody they're going to get paid, because I've just laid them off. And in fact, Sky Saga was an online, the kind of elevator pitch is that it's Minecraft meets Zelda with a kind of a Pixar look, and everything's online simultaneously. You can be adventuring, you can be building, and everybody can see what everybody else is doing as long as you give them the permission. So if you create your own island, you give permission to say the world can see it or they can't, just my friends can see it. But if you say the world can see it, then they can come and visit and stuff. And build stuff, and it was beautiful. It was coming on really, really well. We built the team up to 100 people. So 50 days. So out of the 175 people that we laid off, about a week later, we were able to offer jobs to 50 of them, which was good. Every one of them took them as well, which was excellent. And we grew the company to 100 people, and we were working on Sky Saga for a few years. Until one day, completely out of the blue, basically the company was dedicated to Smilegate, creating one game. One day we just, I was in a meeting and they just said, the top man who owns Smilegate has just said he wants to put the project on hold. So we had 500,000 people signed up to play. We had a lot of people playing and stuff, and it was great, it was going really, really well. But the man at the top had asked the game to be put on hold. We then got paid subsequently to put all the source code and videos and everything so they could continue development internally. One of the clauses in the contract is that if we don't hit the release date, we get owed no royalties. Well, coincidentally, that was about a month before the release date. Coincidence, obviously. The internal team never managed to do anything with it, which was a real shame. So we put the company up for sale, and actually, although we couldn't sell Sky Saga, we could sell the team, and at this point, there are a bunch of real experts, like on cloud-based online video. You'll see what it looks like. And actually, we had a few offers, which was great, to buy the company, and we accepted the offer from Rebellion, because we've known the Kingsley brothers who own Rebellion, and they're based in Oxford, and they make all their own decisions, and they're shareholders. It's just the two guys that own everything. And they bought the company, which is actually quite nice. So bizarrely, we made more money, that's our game being put on hold, than we'd ever made the rest of our lives put together, because we sold the company. Hey! And they offered us jobs for a year, which was quite nice, although they didn't actually ask us to do much, which was a bit bizarre. We got them some nice offices, we employed a bunch of new people, and we kind of sorted out the integration issues and all that. Like, I was going to say, we always worked so hard all our lives, except for that time. Wasn't really a lot to do, but they were happy, and they have been very happy, and they've kept all the staff on, they've expanded the team, and we helped them expand the team. Got a brand new big office they purchased, which is really good. I just recommended it, and then that's quite nice. I can haggle a price, which I did. And then so our guys all then moved on to making helping do a bit of Sniper Elite, mainly Nazi Zombie Army 4. I can now put it, but it's not on this slide. Evil Genius 2. So our guys made Evil Genius 2. Should have added that to the slide, I forgot that, and did a Battle Zone work as well. And we served out our year, our integration year. What is it with these videos? So this is Sky Saga. At about the point we got a cap. I think it's about a month before it got put on hold. we sold the business, so it's okay after that. We actually had a load of merchandise because we were getting close, so you can help yourself. Basically, we got lots of it still in the loft, so I just brought some of it along. Yeah, that was a really, really good game, and we wondered if it would ever come out, but no, it didn't. So after we did our year at Rebellion, we really didn't know what to do next. We'd helped one of the teams break away from, like, before the Rebellion. Rebellion moved in and took most of the people, but several people broke away and formed a new team, Unit 2 Games, and basically me and Andrew, because we just made some money, we invested in that company, we set them up, and we helped finance the whole thing. And they went and did their thing. You might learn a little bit more of that in a minute. And we weren't sure what to do, because all of our employees have gone, we can't write code anymore and haven't got the inclination to write code anymore. So we said we'll be consultants. A lot of people just said retire. But we've kind of got a lot of experience and we love making games and we kind of love the industry, so we thought we'll advise other people, we'll become investors, and we'll see how that goes. Did an enormous number of talks at universities, probably done 35, 40 talks at universities, a little bit like this to be fair, but talking a lot more in depth about lessons learned and stuff, so I'm taking a lot of that out. And writing lots of articles for people like GI.biz and people about the games industry and how to get on the games industry, whether you're an employee or an employer or setting up a business or you're an investor. Really wasn't filling our time up, and we were a little bit not amazingly happy that we didn't have our own thing anymore. You saw earlier during the talk that we did the wonderful Dizzy, we did the design for that, we did the fast food for Switch, for Fuse, but we weren't amazingly happy doing that. And to be honest, I mean, things like going in and telling indie developers, saying that we could advise them, they don't want to hear it, we found, even though I'm pretty sure we were right. They don't want to hear it quite often. And when you're going into education, we found that when you get lecture halls full and you sort of say, how many of you would like to go and get a job in the industry, and versus how many of you want to set up your own indie publisher to developer? And most of them want to become indies. They don't want to work for anybody because they know it all. And it's like, so you end up spending a lot of time talking to students going, you don't know what you don't know. And that's quite depressing as well, because you know that they're going to go down a bad road. But it's hard to say that to them because they say, well, you did it, and you were successful. It's like, yeah, a different era, different time, different competition, different everything. But we did learn quite a lot about things, and it led to what we're ending up doing now, which is a lot of people like to make games, want to make games, are creative, and actually there's a lot of hard work and hard graft in making games, and there's a lot of people out there, so we kind of mulled over and thought about that a lot. I don't know what this video is. What's this video? Oh, this is one of the games we invested in. This is some of the breakaway team from Sky. year, so that is now Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse. And he promoted it last week. So you may have seen that. You can now play it live on your mobile, streaming in, just straight in the window on any Facebook application. It just streams and it's real time, it's live, and it's pretty amazing. So that was quite good. But we were still left kind of thinking, well, what do we do? So what do we do? We thought, the reason it's called Richcast is we thought there's all these creative people out there wanting to put all their creative ideas in front of people. And in front of people these days means putting it on this. But actually it's quite a high hurdle. Who's written iOS games and got their creative content out onto one of these? A YouTube video, a tweet, a Facebook post? Done a Facebook post, a tweet? There you go, right, somebody. Well, we believe there's actually a lot of people that would like to put their content onto one of these as an interactive device. The hurdles for doing it are so high, so we thought, well, people can make podcasts and they can get them out there, they can make YouTube videos, they can make Facebook posts. So why don't we make a system whereby anybody can make anything interactive that runs on any device? You don't expect when you paste a Facebook post for it only to be available on the device that you posted it on. You expect it to be available to everybody, whatever device they're on. And we thought, well, that would make a lot of sense. So allow anybody, no coding, no skills, no kind of previous instructions, to be able to make creative content on any device, serve it on any device, and kind of, I was going to say no restrictions. Long-term no restrictions, short-term, we're working on it. And so that's what we're making, because we think people will like that.
That responds to your reaction, to your decisions, to you. Imagine adventures, mysteries, thrillers that you can speak to, that you can play just by talking.
Let's go to the body in the bedroom.
Imagine audio games, quizzes, stories, learning, all powered by conversation, which anyone can create, whether professionally or for fun. And publish to the world to hear their reaction. This is a whole new kind of entertainment.
What bridge is this?
That is Power Bridge.
This is Richcast. Imagine a story.
Stop it, it always does that. Yeah, I have to say, we changed it, this was actually filmed about a year ago, and then we were pushing, the big and important thing was that you can talk to the games to make all your decisions, and they talk back to you to give you the responses, and we're obviously majoring on stories at the moment. I have to say that the positioning over the last year has changed quite a bit. It still completely understands you and completely does voice in and voice out, but we're now pushing much more the make it on anything, release it for everything, and it will be device agnostic and not require maintenance. Not by you, by our team it will do. And that's what we're working on. And here's just an example title. This is a little bit, it was recorded 2 or 3 months ago, but it gives you a little bit of an idea.
(911), what's your emergency?
Hello? I need help.
911, what's your emergency?
Yeah, hi. I want to report a theft.
Can I get your name and location?
Yeah, it's Ryan Ellis, 155 Anderson Avenue, off Lincoln.
What should I do?
Okay, stay calm. What can you see in the room?
We've released the kind of early versions now on Windows and Mac. iOS and Android are coming soon, and then we'll release it across everything else. And we'll be adding more features over time, and that's what keeps us bloody busy at the moment. There's a lot of work going into this. What is it doing now? Oops. Is that another video? What is... Shouldn't... Oh, this is what it looks like. Sorry, I should have said. This is what it looks like, and this is how we use it. So, as you said, we want to make sure that there's no going off to university or college to learn this stuff. You just load it up and start dragging blocks.
Okay, stay calm. What can you see in the room?
And that's what we're doing at the moment, and will be for a very long time, because it's quite an ambitious target we've got. But we kind of figured people used to program with punch cards, then they went to assembler, and then higher level language, and then middleware and libraries, and we believe the ultimate destination is no code, so we're going to race everybody and beat them there. So that's what we're doing. Thank you very much.
Do you have time for questions?
I'm good for time, if you're good for time. Don't know if my daughter turned up. She'll be here soon.
I think we've probably got time for a couple of questions.
Yeah,
Any
do some questions? Anybody?
Yeah, there's one. I think I saw House of the Dead ages ago.
Yeah, we did that one.
The whole game?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I love that one. It's great.
Is that the one that's got the most swear words in history?
Yeah, it's absolutely.
Yeah, got Guinness World Record for the most swear words in a video game. Yeah, that'll be ours. I didn't write the script. Yeah.
That's great.
Hi. I think actually that one with the Blitz Games was going bust at the time of the release. It actually got mastered by a bunch of people working at homes where we gave them the computers. So it was about L4 beta.
Wow.
And yeah, it's Sega, isn't it? It's like, and Sega basically agreed to pay them rather than Blitz because we'd gone out of business, and yeah, so. But it was people kind of, a few different people around Leamington in their sort of, in their bedrooms and stuff actually had to finish it and master it, which was a bit tough, and well done to them, quite frankly, for getting it out the door. So I think that's that one. Hi.
Are you jealous about people that are kind of like learning to code now?
No, because learning to code is a fantastic skill, don't get me wrong.
No, but in terms of like coming into it, are you jealous of like the tools and like the computer power?
It's so complex and it's so difficult to code these days.
If you could have, I mean, you have.
I'm jealous of the power of the machines. It's phenomenal.
If you could, would you know, click your fingers
and be in their position? No, I don't think so. So we're very proud of what we did, and we only had to fit our games in 34K, and you can fill 34K in a month. The problem these days is the power of the machine and the amount of memory and the amount of everything else, and the permutations and commutations and the libraries and the middleware and everything I have to learn. It's so phenomenally complex and difficult, which is one of the reasons why we keep telling all these students, will you just go and get jobs, because it is so difficult out there, whereas it's so easy to walk into a job and they'll pay you every month, and you'll be guided and mentored and helped, and your career will progress. So no, we're not jealous. I have to say we are so impressed at what is possible. I mean, I saw Assassin's Creed playing downstairs earlier, and it's just like you're looking at flipping heck. But then they've got thousands, literally thousands of people working on that, and tens of millions of pounds. In fact, I think Assassin's Creed is over 100 million, goes into each one. And it's just, wow, how did we get here, kind of thing.
Well, I mean, that's really the difference, and we've gone from, you know, one person in a bedroom with a 48K Spectrum to a cast like a movie production.
Two.
Sorry, two.
I know he's not here. Don't write him off.
But no, but you know, we've gone from the bedroom coder to, you know, now it's a production crew like a movie.
It absolutely is, and to be honest, I wouldn't want to be one small cog in that machine. Don't get me wrong, all those people in those machines, phenomenal work. It's really incredible, and you'll get paid great salaries, and you'll be really proud of the game. But for me and Andrew, we would have wanted too much control. We wouldn't be at the top of it. Well, we wouldn't want to be on the top of it. To be honest, when we got up to 200 people at Blitz, it's difficult. All you're doing is you become admin, for sake of a better word. I mean, although I sort of said on the Sky Cider I did some of those designs, it's like I sort of write a little bit and then walk away, and maybe 2 or 3 months later something comes of what I wrote, kind of thing. But I don't even know who did it. It's like, and then sometimes it doesn't, because there's loads of other people in the organisation, and it's. But that, and then, by the way, that was a smaller team. That was when it was like 75, 80 people. So 200, I was just all the time worrying about money and paying people's salaries, quite frankly. Not worrying about game design, but just get the client to actually pay up, which was devil's own job, I can tell you.
Do you think you'd follow your own advice and to go out and just get a paid job to do it, or do you think you would go to game development now?
I'm not sure, but one of the things we told the students when we were doing these talks and before we thought of Richcast is, if you are going to go on your own and set your own business up, for God's sake, do something original. Because so many of the students said, oh, this is what we're going to do, and it's kind of a knockoff of something else with a very slight twist on it. And you just go, they're already there, it's already popular, it's already done, they are so far ahead of you. Oh, but they haven't done this feature. Well, no, but they've already got the market, but also you don't know what they're working on right now. You don't know what next year's version of this game's going to be. So we advise them always, if you're going to go it alone, you better do something original. And to be honest, during the first part of lockdown, we just thought, probably retire now. It's like, can't go out, can't talk to people, can't do the education line. But then we came up with this idea and thought, actually, did some research. We think there'd be a demand for this, and we think we'll be first to market with it. So we've done all of this during lockdown. We've built a fully remote team. There's about 15 people working on the code base and actually that side. And then we've got contractors doing all the content. You saw some of the content titles. They're, I was going to say across the world, and there's probably 20 or 30 of them on top of that.
Watching it kind of reminded me of Black Mirror in a way.
Yeah, we can do Bandersnatch. If you get this footage of Bandersnatch, we can just drop it in an afternoon. I've already written to people who own the Dragon's Lair, because I could just drop the content in, it would just work. And anybody in this room would be able to just drop the content in, and it would just work. You don't need any programming skills. And you just press the publish button, and it'll be available on all devices. Where Richcast is, which currently is only Windows PC, but it's coming. So yes, so Bandersnatch is obviously one of our reference points that we think people would like to be able to do that themselves. So, but it's way more than that, or it will be in the future. Yes?
What do you think about the contrast of like simple games and things like Pac-Man and Frogger, which can be...
There is an elegance. There is a real elegance.
Massive.
I know. So when we were looking at a couple of years ago designing Wonderful Dizzy, we'd obviously done a Kickstarter. I say obviously, some of you may know, we did a Kickstarter a few years ago for PS2, do a new Dizzy, do it all in 3D and all this. It doesn't feel as elegant, and it was really nice doing the design for Wonderful Dizzy, where you've got this like serious constraint. It's got to run an original Spectrum 128. We copped out on 48K. It's like, we've got to make sure, part of the reason there was, Fantasy World Dizzy was 48K, 34K ROM, and we've got to make sure it's better than that. But one obvious way to make it better than that is to make it a bit bigger. Well, the way to do that is to give yourself more memory, so we kind of copped that. And we've kind of figured out most people are going to run it on an emulator anyway, so they're going to have the 128K available to them. So we did that. But there is an elegance to those early games, and we'll always have a love of those early games. I think the designers, and I'm not just talking about us, I'm talking about all the designers who did things like Pac-Man and stuff, there's a real skill in so little memory, so little processor speed, so limited graphics to actually make these experiences really, really fun. And they're there. And I think when you get to things like Assassin's Creed, it's kind of almost a brute force entertainment. It's just like throw enough graphics at it, throw enough processing power at it, throw enough people at it, and we'll make entertainment. And it's like, yeah, you do, and it works. But my God, did you throw a lot at it to make it work? So.
Sounds like you're doing some incredible work. I'm interested to know what portion of your team or how much time do you spend on cyber security issues?
At the moment, not enough, because somebody said they can actually download the source code of the actual runnable, playable games that other people that we've commissioned, and they can actually just read all the code kind of, because it's not properly compressed yet. But that's because we're in dev kind of. So we are going to change that, because somebody did actually say that they can actually get into it and actually see it. They can't get into the source code, they can't get into the actual code itself properly. Well, but yeah, good luck on decompiling modern code. But the actual individual experiences, which by the way are streamed, because one of the other things that we want to do is we believe that there's an exciting opportunity in the future in streamed. At the moment, if you like a game or you want to get a game or somebody recommends a game, first thing you have to do is go to the App Store, find it, download it, fire it up, sign in, register, accept that, accept that, accept that. This is all streamed. Everything's streamed in. So it basically, we're going to do deep links shortly. So just like if somebody sends you a YouTube video link, you don't, when you've got that link, you don't go, oh, bollocks, I've got to download the damn thing. You just click on it and it plays. That's the concept with Richcast as well. You just click on the deep link and it plays. As long as you have once upon a time installed Richcast. But that's the same as YouTube. Once upon a time you installed it, once upon a time you installed Twitter, once upon a time you installed Facebook. You kind of forget that time happened, because you've got it now and everything just works. So yeah, at the moment, people will say, I'm going to install it. So, yeah, but you have to install Facebook once upon a time. So we are, yeah, so it'll all be streamed content. The security, at this point in time, it's going to get better over the next few weeks, because somebody's managed to get into one of the games. They couldn't change it, they could just read it. It's like, fine, read it, I don't care actually that much. We were actually thinking of putting a feature in, we just haven't got around to it, which is, when you go to publish, tick a box to say you don't mind the player seeing the code. Like, it's not really code, it's the flowchart. You don't mind people seeing it. It's like, so we were thinking of putting that feature in there. It sounds like somebody can see it anyway through the back door. But yeah, we'll lock all that down. One of the reasons we want to lock it down is because we can compress it all, so that it's less storage space up on Amazon and it's less data coming down. Anyway, there we go.
So, question: how do you get?
I don't code it anymore, so don't blame me. I'd have done it day one, but.
No, basically, how do you get involved from whichever angle? Just go to the website.
Yeah, it's free. It's free. I mean, we know we're going to have to make it free for a good 6 to 9 months to get people into it before we can start putting pricing on it. And then one of the main reasons for putting pricing on it is so that you, the creators, can get royalties. Because if we don't put prices on it, then how are the public ever going to get paid? So the idea is that when you publish, you put a price, and then up to 70% of the money comes back to you. We're not trying to stitch people. We don't need to stitch people. I mean, I have to say we've heard some absolute horror stories of Roblox and stuff like that. That's not us. It's like, if people create stuff, put it on our platform, they'll get the majority of the royalties. What's wrong with that? We'll take our cut. We'll have a decent business, don't get me wrong. But we don't need to exploit people.
Time for one more question, if there is one.
Yeah, it's more relevant to your previous chat.
Oh, by the way, we are actually commissioning people at the moment. I mean, there's £250,000 on the table to commission titles for people to make stuff. So we're not mucking about. There's quite a lot of people starting to write stuff.
Sorry, I've got a question to do with sort of 8-bit and stuff, which I should have asked earlier, but when back on when Dizzy came out, and it was so fantastic compared to a lot of other things there. It was the way it was designed. The icons were so clear what they were. It's amazing you were so young when you took what a lot of other games were doing, where you would pick something up and thought, what is that? It's just a mess of pixels, and you made it so clear and simple. Usability. It was on such a high level.
Well, the other thing we were very conscious of is reduce the number of keys. Back in those days, everybody kept changing all the bloody keys around and adding more keys and going, oh, there's another feature here, and that key, there's another feature here, that key.
Yeah.
It's like, well, how are you going to learn that? So we made sure ours were always 4 plus an action button or less.
And
in a lot of cases, the jump and the climb was the same one, deliberately. There was no down in Disney, obviously.
You had such a good design brief, and also like when you started, you could see a goal. You had the cauldron.
Oh yeah, that's really important as well.
But when a lot of my heroes like yourself get older, I see them talking, and they get quite arty-farty, and they talk about the design, and you don't seem to do that. You're so modest. You just say, "Oh, we bossed it out in a couple of weeks," and I'm not going to fix, you know.
But this is what we've done all our lives, and this was why it was quite frustrating being when we were consultants. People will go, well, what do you know? It's like, I don't want to deal with people who go, well, what do you know? It's like, since the age of 12, we've never done anything else other than make games. It's like, so we kind of live this world. I don't want to live the world of the big fuck off Assassin's Creed type stuff because we haven't lived that world. But when it comes to this sort of more approachable stuff, we've absolutely lived it, and we know all this stuff. And one of the reasons why Richcast kind of really does excite us, and we're putting a lot of money into it, is because we got a real buzz by being able to make stuff and share it with the world. And we kind of realised that we're almost in the best position in the world to develop something like what we're talking about, because it's all about UI and it's all about allowing people to easily make stuff to share with everybody else. We thought you couldn't actually think of anybody better in the world to actually do it, and we just thought of it. So it seems like we want to do it. And we think it's an inevitability. It's obvious that somebody's going to do it. The more we thought about it, the more we researched it. It's like, it's natural that you put middleware in, you put libraries in to make it easier for people to make games. So let's just go one level much higher than that, which is there is no code, there is no script. You just drag and drop little tiles. When people were making stuff in Minecraft, you didn't think, I'm programming. You just thought, no, I'm just dragging and dropping stuff. It's like, so we're just using the same philosophy, really. And a lot of people kind of like Minecraft, even though it looked god-awful. I shouldn't say that, he's actually a fan. I know this because he tweeted that he looked up to us and that's what got him into games. So, which was actually a really nice tweet to get on actually, I was really low because actually I think it was around the time that Blitz was going out of business when I saw that tweet and I was like, oh, that's nice. Got some money, mate.
I think on that note we need to wrap up. Philip, thank you very much indeed.
No problem. I hope you didn't miss Andrew too much.
Tell him we miss him.
Okay, Andrew, they miss you. He'll watch this at some point and they go, oh, God!
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Good.